Sound rolling, cameras rolling, fun good documentary.
Low points. With my son, I could honestly say there's been no low points. Literally, everything's been high. With my daughter, the only low points is the contact that I have, because we've got a different, me and the mum are not together, so my daughter only gets to see me every other week. So the low points is that gap when I don't see her, and the fact that I don't have as much input as I would like. But when I'm with both my children, there are really no, even like when there's bad news, we look on a positive side to it and we process it and we grow from it.
Wow, low points, you know, one very, very recently, one a lot more distant, but he broke his ankle. We were playing volleyball in the park and he broke his ankle. And we went into the hospital emergency. The doctor was pretty cool and he said, look, we're gonna have to reset your ankle or manipulate your ankle before we put it to set. And just watching the pain about to come. And when a doctor tells you this is going to hurt, you know it's gonna hurt. And that was a really, really low place to be at that time.
Some of the arguments we've had, some of the, I think my second to last child, she has a very strong, determined streak in her. And I remember a time where she didn't want to go to school. She was making all sorts of excuses as to why she didn't need to go to school. And being the type of father I am, I told her in no uncertain terms that she would be going to school. And if she felt like she wouldn't have to, she'd see a different side of me. And she insisted that, Dad, no, I'm not going to school. Even though she got to the stage of actually dressing herself. She had her school uniform on, sat down in the living room and was insisting she wasn't going anywhere. Anyway, school wasn't too far from us, about 100, 150 yards. And I told her in no uncertain terms if she didn't get up, Dad would be carrying her to school. And lo and behold, that's more or less what ended up happening. But it wasn't an easy carry into school, it was a dragging to school. And it got to the extent where she started bawling and crying, but Dad was determined, he was angry, he showed the angry side of who he was. And although, it's something that I know that I needed to show her, sometimes in reflections I regret the manner in which it was done. Dragging my child down to school where other, general public would see this child's kicking and screaming and Dad would be dragging her down the road. So I regret, it was a low point, and it's one of those points where I wish I had a different method of still gaining the same objective.
I think the low points in my time of a father can be divided into two categories. One, illness, and two, mothers. So the relationship with my partners actually, because I have 4 children and they're not all to the same mother. My relationship with my partners was an issue. The first one was because she was too young, I think. But the second one was because she had mental health issues. And that impacted on me and my relationship with the children, which worked out well in the end because I ended up having to look after them by myself, which was great in the sense that I was able to be with them. But it was very difficult at the same time. And then the other part is that one of my sons has sickle cell. So he's been in and out of hospital. That's coming to a conclusion because there's a cure actually for sickle cell anemia, which those of you who don't know about it, you need to research about that there is a cure for sickle cell anemia. And at the same time, my other son, he was born with his esophagus and his trachea, they were connected. So had he had milk he would have drowned straight away, you know. But it was actually his mother, his grandmother noticed he was turning blue, so she prevented it and she called the doctor. So there's been a few things like that in my life. So I call them low points, but at the same time they've been learning points.
Not knowing how to make, not knowing how to please them, not knowing what would make things better, not having the power to be able to just say it'll be all right and make it all right.
Gosh, the low points in time as a father, probably that breakup, I mean, we co-parent our children, never an easy thing. I think our systems are built for us to separate more so than they are to stay together and endure. Take, for example, Gaddafi when he was alive. I remember reading somewhere that when a couple got married, they were given a house, they were given an education, they were given a car, But there's nothing like that here to actually support couples to endure. So, one of the most challenging points I would say is breaking up with my beloved partner. We now co-parent. We've had our great points and our challenges, and there is no manual on how to co-parent. You just got to kind of figure it out, So I would say that's a low point in terms of fatherhood, and just keeping my children stable, which they are, and loved and cared for and nurtured, even though mom and dads are no longer together.
Probably the toughest thing for me to deal with as a father is when I broke up with my children's mum, and I think that was really difficult, because for me I kind of based a lot of my ideas about being a dad and being there for them, and that was really important for me. And so when my relationship with their mother didn't work out, I think I felt like I'd failed, and I think at the time I felt like I'd failed as a father. And I think as time goes on, you see that was one aspect of it, and being a father means much more than that, and it's about your relationship with your children. So yeah, that's
the low points. Time. I think time is a big issue because you don't have a lot of time when you are a father. If you're a dedicated father, you don't get a lot of time out there. Time to do your own things. And that's a big issue for me anyway.
There ain't none. How else am I going to develop without challenges? So I wouldn't, semantically speaking, a low point? No, I don't. When he's crying for something unnecessarily, is that a low point? There ain't nothing, nothing specific that I can nail down and say, yeah, that is a low point regarding that. We've been fortunate, he's, through the guidance of our ancestors, he's managed to get into a good school. He's even before the school he got into, he's had good support networks regarding that. So, yeah, there hasn't been a specific low point yet, if there ever is one to come. I'm kind of confident that I don't think there's going to be any anymore. I'm not going to concentrate on that.
I think the lowest point for me was relationship breakdown after 7-8 years then of to get a divorce and have a relationship breakdown, and then having every day, this is the thing, so every day up to that point, so for the first 7-8 years of my son's life, every day they jump in the bed, whatever, and then one day that just stopped. Yeah, it just stopped. That is very low, and I think that was the lowest point, but also was a point of rebirth and also a point of growth.
Some of the low points of me being a father, when my son was being born, there was complications because at one point he had stopped moving. So we had to go to the hospital on a regular basis, probably more than the other two children when they were being born. And it was excruciating pain. It was something that I wouldn't wish on anybody, even my worst enemy, to see my wife going through that. And there was nothing really I could do. I was just, kind of like on the sideline, just watching this thing happen. At one point, we didn't know if he was going to make it or if he was going to be disabled. And it was just a painful headache for me. And I don't get headaches at all. But at that point, when my son was getting born, he was my second born, and when there was those complications, it was about 10 migraines in one. So that was a low point for me.